Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Josh Donlan. I'm the program director for two amazing programs here at Full Sail University, mobile development, which you guys might have seen me do this for. And for the very first time, very proudly, I'm here to also showcase our web design and development program. So today is kind of exciting because it's the first time we're showcasing both these degrees together. And it's a jumping point into a new type of education that we're going to start looking at here at the school, where through mutual collaboration and work, we're going to start to integrate students a little bit better and see some really amazing projects, some of which you'll see the groundwork today. So it's kind of exciting. Really proud to be standing in front of you guys. So before we get started, I'd like to talk a little bit about the programs and kind of what it entails for those of you who might not be super familiar. I know we have some family members that are both in the audience and watching online and might just want to know a little bit more about the programs. And we'll start with mobile. Mobile development is not what you might think on the surface. A lot of people tend to think, okay, well, we're just talking about phones, and people think that mobile development is phones, but it's so much more than that. It's telematics, it's operating systems in cars and refrigerators, and you've seen Android-powered TVs and appliances and washing machines and all these other kind of stuff. And people are buying products through kiosks and through mobile payments and all these other kind of fun stuff. So the mobile development degree is the degree that Full Sail offers to prepare students to enter that world, the world of kind of connected development, application development for connected living. Because the true mobile aspect is the people, and we all moving around and integrating in technology in every aspect of our life. So it's not just a phone anymore. In order to prepare students for a world that's unknown, we make sure that they have a strong foundation, right? So we teach native development concepts, and students use Visual Studio with C#, right? So they learn the computer science fundamentals that are needed to not only kind of survive today, but to serve as a foundation to build upon in the future as things change. 10 years ago, the iPhone was just announced. 15 years ago, mobile was not even really a thing. Some of our students have 30 or 40 years of work ahead of them, so who knows where the world will be at that point. So they have to have that foundation. They have to be able to kind of grow from where they are. But students come here for one reason. That's to prepare them for their careers, right? That's what education is supposed to do. So we also need to make sure that they're able to work today. And this is one of the things I think our program does better than any program out there. We layer on top of that computer science foundation native development skills with both Android and iOS. So our students leave prepared to build apps on day one that meet client demands. And that last part is key. They meet client demands. So part of our curriculum is understanding people and needs and making sure that people can actually develop applications that you would use, that you see every day. And so to do that, we teach standard development practices, we teach version control and project management cycles and everything like that. And students leave with several projects that are ready to be showcased to the world, some of which you'll see tonight. The next program we're talking about is our Web Design and Development Bachelor Program. And you're going to see quite a few logos on the screen, and you would see more if I didn't think it would look cluttered. Because the interesting thing about web design and development is it's so spread out. There's so many things that you have to do to actually see a website on a screen. I think a lot of times it's easy to miss that. It's easy to see the end product and go, oh, okay, well, that looks nice, and not understand exactly what goes on under the hood. So I'm kind of excited about our first presenter today, and we're going to bring him out here in just a minute, but he is halfway through our program for web design. And what you're going to see is that an application that he built has a lot of layers of complexity, even for what some of you might even see on the surface as a relatively, fundamental application. I think you'll be amazed at kind of the work that goes under that, and he's going to show it to you. So what you see is a bunch of logos of different technologies, and we have the same C# foundations, and I think that that's important because a programmer is a programmer. So our web and mobile students already start off working together, and they start learning these foundations together, and they're going to grow, right? We have a couple web dev students in the audience that I won't point out, but they're sitting in the front right here. And they were talking a little bit earlier just about how fast technology changes and how they're like, oh, I got to learn this and I got to learn this and I just learned this 3 months ago and now I got to learn something else. And that's kind of how it works. So again, you have to have those strong fundamentals to kind of be able to do that, to kind of be agile and adapt and grow in an ever-changing industry. In order to meet the needs of software, and I say software as like kind of a holistic word, like it entails every industry, including mobile, there needs to be a strong web presence. So you have web backend technologies, data frameworks, and all these kind of endpoints, both on a server side that need to be met, plus people still use websites every day on the computer. So you need that side. So any successful project really has all these different kind of areas of need, and these two programs together help build the people that are going to be able to actually solve that need. So you see we have front-end development, back-end development. Students are going to be exposed to not only just databases and back-end server code like PHP, but you're also going to have the front-end side. You're going to have JavaScript and a core fundamental understanding of JavaScript, as well as some of the new flavors of JavaScript and frameworks and everything like that that help make things easier. And again, that prepares people for future work long after they're done here. And honestly, that's enough about the programs. I think usually I give this spiel about how much work goes into application and code and everything like that. And sometimes I think that just goes over somebody's heads. Because if you're not a developer, you might not fully appreciate that, right? It's like being a mechanic. They tell you the thingamabob is broken and you pay $400 and you just think they know what they're talking about. But then on the website side of things, it's like, oh, well, it's the opposite. Oh, I just want to move this box from here to here. You kind of don't understand the amount of work that goes into moving a box from here to here. So to kind of illustrate that and show you a project that he's working on and show you kind of where our students are halfway through the program, I'm going to bring out our first presenter, Matt.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Pizzenti, the creator of LeagueMaster. LeagueMaster is a web app that I designed. The goal of the app is to take in user data and return champion data from the game League of Legends. For those of you who don't know, League of Legends is an online competitive game where 2 teams of 5 players control individual characters, also known as champions, where they push into the enemy base and they take out the enemy nexus, also pretty much their power source. LeagueMaster takes that user, you give the username, and then it returns pretty much the top 5 champions and the least 5 champions that the player plays. So let's get into it. Starting out the demo, we're going to use a user from the game. The user we're using today, his name is SeeMePK. We're going to put that in, and we're going to get his information. As the page loads, we can see we got some splash art at the top, icon in the middle, and on the bottom left and right, respectively, we have our top played champions and least played champions for this person. What's also cool is we can look for other players while we're here. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to type in player Syllabeast, and let's see if we can get his information. Boom, there it is. The splash art loads, all the top champions load from the character's account, which we can clearly see. Now, we can also refresh the page with the same user, and we get a new splash art. What's cool about this is that splash art is actually dynamic. Every time you load the page, it actually takes a splash art from that top played champion in that list. So as we can see, the top played champion for this person, the name is Vayne, and it loads a splash art. Now, each champion from the game has between 2 and 7 skins. Skins are purely cosmetic, and they give you a little bit more variety as you're playing the game. And this app is able to pull in all the different splash arts for all the different champions. So every time the user loads it, they get a brand new experience every time. Makes it feel fresh, makes it feel different. It's pretty cool. So that's the demo. It's very simple. 2 pages for the app. It looks simple on the front, but the insides and the internals and figuring it all how to work, that was a little complicated. So I'm going to get into the reason why I did this. I'm going to share with you the technologies. I'm going to share with you the challenge I had to face to bring this all together. First, we're going to look into why I chose to do this project. So first reason why I chose to do this was really, it was great subject matter for me. When I was picking a project, I wanted to focus more so on the back end. I didn't want to have to worry about creating graphics and figuring out all the icons. I really just wanted to focus in on tapping into APIs, pulling data, and pulling information. So I looked into League of Legends, and right off the bat, I found out that a lot of their assets that the League of Legends team designed, they offer available freely to developers as long as you create it and share it for free. So it was a really cool opportunity to be able to use that. The next reason why I chose this was that I was told it had a challenging API. So when I was pitching this idea for the project, one of my instructors was actually telling me, don't do this. Trust me, just don't do this. The API is terrible. You're gonna have to go through layers and layers, and it's just like, do something simple. Just do something simple. And that's just not me. I'm not for the simple. I like a challenge. So he was trying to discourage me. He was actually encouraging me to his knowledge. So it had a challenging API, and that's definitely one factor actually that led me into this. The next thing, which I'll get into later, but to touch on, it's a stepping stone. I saw a lot of the opportunity that this app could teach me in terms of skills, knowledge, working with APIs. And being able to see that, and then also thinking about what I could turn this into. I kind of looked ahead a bit when I started this project, so I'll share that with you in just a bit. Keep that in mind, though. As for the technologies, very, very basic in the web world. You got your HTML, you got your CSS, and you got your JavaScript, and that's about it. No frameworks, no libraries. I actually was originally going to do this in Angular, but I was really thinking about it, and one of the reasons why I'm here at Full Sail is because I want to be an overall great developer. And so I wanted to learn the core languages, and I want to learn them from the ground up. Because one day I may be asked to build a framework. I may be asked to help pitch in for a library. So I really want to make sure that I get my foundation done right here while I'm here at Full Sail. And like I said, very simple. That's the technologies. Oh, the API. Oh my gosh. Okay, the API. So this was the daunting API that I was warned about as I was going through this project. It looks nice and pretty from here, but when you're actually working on it, it's crazy because you're sending in a username. But when you send that username, you have to get a user ID associated with that username. After the user ID, then you can get the mastery data associated with that ID. Once you get the ID, then you can get the champions, and then you can display it. So you're literally going layers and layers trying to figure out how do I get this information. So it was definitely a little difficult to work with. They have all these different things that you can call from. It is nice, though. They do help you. They have been helping you out a lot. They've been updating it. So I've been really thankful to them for keeping up to date with their API a little bit. Could use some work still, just a suggestion. So this is the functionality part of it, right? This is all the problems. Fetch is basically, it's the Fetch API, which in JavaScript, it's an interface that allows you to make cross-browser and domain requests and pull data from other servers, APIs. This was definitely the key ingredient to figuring this whole project out. So as you can see, it looks simple. If only it stopped here. That was my wish in the beginning. I wish it stopped here, and I wish I didn't have to go any further. But this is only the first call, and we're not even halfway there. So as you can see, we have on the top of it, it's labeled fetch summoner data, which takes into summoner name, which is that username that the user puts in first. But like I said, it's all one within the other. So as you can see highlighted, within that fetch is another fetch. Then we have another fetch with a fetch inside of that fetch. And then we get into one more fetch with another fetch, but wait, we're not done. There's a new fetch. I had to go 4 layers deep to get all the data that I needed for this application. And I don't know APIs. This is like one of my first API projects. So I just keep telling people, I hope all APIs aren't like this because dang, oh my gosh, this is just too much. And then finally, getting into the future plans, having gone through all of that. The future plans that I had for this, the big idea was that I wanted to create something that, being a player myself, I could see myself using. I could pass this along to teams. I could pass this along to esports teams, private teams, big, small. And the idea with it is that I would create an app later on where a team of 5 people, they would create team compositions based on all the different characters, so different combinations of teams. And then on the right, it could display to you the stats, the advantages, disadvantages of that team composition. So for example, you put in 5 champions, and now you get to tell, all right, is this composition good at fighting together as a unit in a team fight situation? Are they good at disengaging and getting out of fights, if possible? Or are they a good composition for poking the enemy and whittling them down before they make their assault? So that is pretty much the project. Those are the plans. And kind of guiding me here at Full Sail, and in almost every project I do, is this quote that I took from Robin Sharma, who is a Canadian author and also does leadership development. He says, "Dream big, start small, and act now." I consider myself a pretty big dreamer, but I have to confine myself and start small. I have to make sure that I get my foundations done right in order to achieve those dreams. And I think the most important thing in today's day and age is to act now and to start now. Don't wait. The time is now. My name is Matt Pizzenti, and that was League Master. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and especially Edward Almeida and the Showcase team for having me on here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Matt. Just going to leave this up here for a second. Simple is the word I heard. Simple. Do we have some parents in the audience, right? Can I pick on you for a second? Okay. I don't know if you were counting. Do you know how many lines of code were shown in that demo for the API call? How many lines of code? Just the ones that were shown in the API. Yeah, there is about 50 lines of distinct code plus all the extra symbols and spacing and everything like that. So probably close to between 50 and 100 lines of code there. Simple is the word that he used. I'll just think on that for a second. Anybody go to a traditional 4-year school ever? Any show of hands? A couple people. All right. Oh, you did before you came here. I didn't even know this. I'm learning things right now. In your freshman year, because they've been here for 10 months, so I'm going to be generous and say a year. In your freshman year, did you learn anything that would have led you to produce a product? Simple is the word that he used. And I think that tells a lot about kind of what this program does and what our students do. But to Matt's credit, there are a lot of things that I think translate into a successful product for our students, right? And one of those things is to think about how he envisioned this product. Because Matt was telling me that before he came here to Full Sail, he had started to develop this passion for wanting to be in this tech industry and everything like that. And he actually looked at this website and this API once and was like, whoa, that is terrifying. And 10 months later, he's using the word simple. I'm happy with that. That makes me feel good about what I do, honestly. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited to have Matt back here in 10 months when he's graduating and see what he's doing then and what he thinks simple is then. That seems exciting to me. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's look at what happens 20 months into a program, right? What happens? So our next guest is going to present his mobile application for a personal project, right? And one of the things that we try to do here with these projects, just so people know, and you kind of heard it there in that Matt story where he's interested in this and is passionate about this, because what we find is that people that are passionate about something tend to put more effort and more energy and deliver on that, right? They're committed to it. And this is kind of a passion project in our final project here in mobile development. And I think it kind of shows the other side of things, which is problem solving, right? Not like the skill problem solving, but like people have problems, right? We're lazy. That's a problem. but it's a problem we can solve because we can allow ourselves to be lazy by getting smarter about how we do things, right? And that's exactly what this next project does. So to tell you a little bit about it, I'm going to bring up Scott.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? I'm Scott, and I'm here to present my application, the Dog Walker. The Dog Walker is built for professional dog walkers with multiple clients who want an easy way to track all of their dog walking schedules while having all their client information at their fingertips. So my aunt is a professional dog walker. She has over 300 clients, and she has a crazy busy dog walking schedule every day. So I'm going to go through and show you how someone that is a professional dog walker can use my application and have a simple, easy day with the dog walker. So first, the walker, my aunt would have to log in and create an account, and she gets a company code. All of the walkers and clients are linked through a company code. As you see on screen here, it's going through the registration process. The client is registering here, and they would put in my aunt's company code, and then that links them with that walker. So we're going through here. All the validation, as you see in the beginning, validates for the password, for any of the options for empty fields, anything like that. And in the screen that just passed through here, it shows are you a dog walker, are you a pet owner? So they have the choice to pick. Once, obviously this is for a pet owner, they log in, put all their pet information, and now they can view all of their pet information. They can edit that information, they can change anything they needed. If the vaccines or their medication changed, any of their phone numbers or address, they can change any information for that, and then create a schedule. That's the meat and potatoes of my application for dog walking. They create a schedule anytime they want, anytime they need. They go in, create the schedule, add the time, and then add the duration they would like. And as you can see, the price will change as the duration changes. They save, now they have their schedule added there. They have their schedule details. They can go in and edit any of the schedule details. If something changed last minute and they needed to change the duration or change anything, they have the option to do that. So now that my aunt has a client and a schedule registered, she will start her first walk of the day. You see there, so you have Phoenix at 8:01. So, oh, sorry guys. Go back here. Okay, schedule details, and she can view the information for that schedule. If she needed to, she could edit that schedule, go in, click through and change maybe the time or the date if something conflicted with their schedule, and the client would be informed at that time that the walker has made a change. They can call the client, the vet, or any of their emergency contacts. In here I have one listed, but if they had multiples, it would give them the option for that. And once they start their day, they can get directions to the client's home, staying right within the app. Once the directions are finished there, it'll bring us back to my application. And now she has the opportunity to check in for the walk. On the left side of the screen is our details page for the walker, and on the right is the screen for the client side. So once Nicole arrives at her first walk of the day, she'll check in. You can see on the right it informs, and then she checks out for the walk. If she just selects yes without any notes, it'll alert them, please enter a note. So once go in and finish putting in the note, send it to them. They are informed that the walk was completed and to please pay for the walk on that date. So now that the walk is completed, where we ended there, it shows walk is completed, please pay for that walk. The user can go in, and with using Apple Pay, they easily have the option to go in. They can add any credit card or debit card that they want. They select an address that goes with it. If you already have one built into your phone, it'll give you the option there to pick whatever your address is or link to your contact. Once it's completed, it does go in and show paid, and that has been finished or paid for. Future plans for this, I did have some huge issues with my computer. Second week of month 1, my computer just started dying. I'm typing away and it just shuts off. I take it to Apple, no fixes. So I got limited to finishing off my iOS side with push notifications. So as you saw in the last slide where it's showing them an alert on the schedules page, it would really be finished up with push notifications. And yesterday, Apple finally got back to me with the fix for the code signing issues that I ran into. On top of my broken computer, I had to buy an iMac. So it's been an interesting 2 months of development for this project. And also for future plans is finishing Android. It is available, it will be available on iOS and Android. Android is in the same state here. I have to add payment into it, but it is in a good state. And that way, any user that wants to use the dog walker can, whether it's on iOS, Android, it doesn't matter what your client uses, then they have the ability to just link up with that company code. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoy my presentation. Here's all my information, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Okay. All right. So a few minutes ago, we saw 50 to 100 lines of code to pull information down from database. And that wasn't even all the code. That wasn't the code to like display it, make sure that it scales properly, changes the image to the right size, and all that kind of stuff. This project, we see not only the code that integrates with hardware for things like GPS and directions and localizations, but also completely custom user interface elements, pushing and pulling data from remote services, and two-way communication between a client and a customer. How many lines of code do you think that was? And the other thing is, this poor guy, I'm just gonna back Scott up here a little bit. We were doing the rehearsal for this last night, and he is sitting right there, and we're all in here, and he's tweaking his presentation and everything. And I swear, what were we here, Jen? We were here like an hour and a half, maybe. His computer probably shut down 20 times in the hour and a half that we were here. And oh man, I can only imagine trying to write that many lines of code with a computer that just randomly shuts itself off. That sounds like a nightmare. But this goes back to what I was saying. Like you have real world problems, right? So this is a relative of his going through a problem. We're trying to arrange what is our incredibly busy life cycle, right? We wake up in the morning, we have 10 million things to do, and by the time we get to bed, we've knocked out 12 of them, and then the next day we get 20 more. That's just the way that we kind of live. And anything that we can do with technology to make that easier is an opportunity. And this is kind of what you see as a capitalization on an opportunity, right? Something that is very real, that's a very real problem that somebody's facing that he's able to kind of tackle with technology. And if you are a pet owner, right? We have pet owners in the room? Yeah, a couple? Like, I'm a pet owner, right? A lot of us really care about our pets, right? So you think about things that kind of are a problem from that perspective too. So it's not just the client, it's also the customers, right? So it's like, okay, someone's gonna walk my dog, I wanna be able to see it, and I can now, right? I can get that picture of my dog during the walk, and that makes me feel a little bit better, right? Now, what Scott didn't talk about is also some of the business things that go behind the scenes, right? So how is he gonna make money? Well, if you were a pet owner, wouldn't you maybe pay a little bit more or consider at least for hiring if one of your clients had this service where they could send you pictures of what they're doing, and you could make sure that things are going well, and they could check in and check out, and you know when they're in your house and out of your house, and if your security system goes off, the dog walker just goes, oh, sorry, I'm here to pick up the dog. You know, like, there's a lot of perks there, right? So there's the business side of things, and that's one of those things that we do here in this program that I think help cement the value of our developers. Is they not only can they build amazing applications, but they can do so with the context of why it's important and where's the value. And that's what I kind of mean by they can hit the ground running. One more thing, and we haven't really talked about this. This project was developed in about 6 weeks. It's not a lot of time. The previous project was developed in less than 4. I mean, it takes me 4 weeks to get around to cleaning my chinchilla cage at home. These guys are building applications. It's kind of impressive. And we're going to move on to one more, what I would consider extremely impressive project. The following student is nothing short of remarkable, I think is the right word for that, right? And you're about to see why. The following project, a single person has built, and it's not one project, it's actually 2 projects, and you'll see what I mean by that when he gets up here. 2 entirely different code bases with 2 entirely different platforms for one singular application, which is kind of amazing. And that doesn't include the back end. Even more amazing. And I'm not going to say anything else because it speaks for itself. This is like one of the easiest jobs in the world. I can just have him come up here and show off what he can do, and then I look good for doing it. So anyhow, here's Luca.
Thank you, Josh. So hello, everyone. My name is Luca Ventura, and today I'm going to be talking about my application, Alexandria, and how it's changing the way students buy and sell textbooks. So as we all know, every application needs to solve a problem, and the problem that my application aims to solve is quite a big one. In the US, it's estimated that students will spend an average of up to $1,200 a year on textbooks, with a single textbook being in excess of $200. This is what's leading to what's known as the higher education bubble in the United States, similar to the housing bubble of the past decade. What's worse is at the end of every semester, when these students need to sell these textbooks back to the bookstore that they might have just paid in excess of $100 for, they'll give them pennies on the dollar. So what is the solution to this problem? The solution is a platform that will connect these students selling their books and these students buying their books, so they can easily find books from other students and pay for them within the application. So obviously, the application will be targeting college students. It's estimated that students spend on average 3.6 hours a day on their phones. The app's going to be targeting young adults aged 18 to 24 who are currently enrolled in college or who will be enrolled in college in the near future. Now, Alexandria will be cross-platform, so native on iOS and Android, because for college students, there's not one dominating platform, right? So some students prefer iOS, some prefer Android. It's the same for colleges, right? One college may favor iOS, and one college may be a mix of both. So that's why we decided to go cross-platform here. So take Sam Smith, for example. He's your typical college student, 19 years old, full-time student. He likes hanging out with his friends and tries to get good grades, but he's fed up that at the end of the semester, the books that he paid so much for are now worth pennies, and he wants to find a better solution to this problem. So what are Sam's current options? Well, there are very few marketplace applications that focus on the used textbook market, and the ones that do will fall into one of the 3 categories. So you have the first category, which is those applications will take a percentage of your book sales. So let's say you sell your book for $100, they'll take 10% and you're out $10. The next group, they'll give you lowball offers. So what this means is they won't actually allow you to list your textbooks for sale. They'll simply offer you a ridiculously low price, like a college bookstore would, and then they'll resell them. This is the same thing that GameStop will do for games. I'm sure most of you can relate to that. You'll go into GameStop and they'll give you like $5 for your game, and they'll literally take a label with their price, it's $30, and put it on there in front of you. And you're like, well, you just gave me $5 for this. Now you're gonna sell it for $30? That's the same thing that's happening with college textbooks nowadays. So the last group, they'll just have an outdated app lacking good UI and user experience, and it's simply no longer supported. So what technology is being used in Alexandria to solve Sam's problem? Well, for a database and backend, we have Firebase, which is a very common solution, no SQL. On iOS, we have Apple Pay. And on Android, we have Android Pay for paying for books directly in the app. For an API, the Google Books API is being used. So anytime someone enters in their ISBN to sell their book, so they scan a barcode or they manually type in their ISBN, we'll ping the Google Books API and we'll pull back any relevant information. So things like the cover photo, a description, publisher, all of these things so the user won't have to enter that in manually. Next up, for push notifications on iOS, we're using the APNS, which stands for the Apple Push Notification Service. So anytime a book seller sells their book, they'll get a notification instantly. And lastly, for server-side functions, Node.js is utilized. That is utilized for one of the aforementioned script and sending the notifications. So now I want to play a quick promo video for you guys to get a high-level overview of what Alexandria does. So now that you understand what Alexandria does, we're going to go through a detailed walkthrough so you can see everything in action. So first up, we obviously have the sign up. And this was meant to be as seamless for the user as possible. So the first thing you'll do is you'll enter in your email address, which is obviously validated. So if you have an account already, you'll see you'll be taken to the sign in screen. If you don't have an account, you'll be taken to the sign up screen. More still, if you have signed in with Facebook using that email, it'll alert you that you've used Facebook to sign in, and it'll give you the option to sign in with Facebook. So once you get to the sign up screen, you enter in two more pieces of information. The second is the username, which is validated for any usernames already taken by other users, and you obviously can't leave that field blank. And then you'll have your password, which is validated for at least 6 characters. So maybe you don't want to sign in with email. Okay, you can use Google Sign In and Facebook Sign In. So when you sign in with Google or Facebook, if it's your first time, you'll be asked for a username. And once you enter in your username, if it's not taken, you'll have your account ready to go. So now that you've successfully signed in or signed up, you can create your book listing in a matter of seconds. To get the book information, you can enter in your ISBN, or you can scan the barcode. So after you've entered your ISBN, it'll give you back a result from the Google Books API and ask you to confirm if that's in fact your book. You'll see the barcode scanning here, so you can simply scan the barcode, and you'll see the information there as well. You'll see the description, the ISB10, and the ISB13 from the drop-down there. Now we ask users to take pictures of their book, so the front, the back, the spine, and the inside. This will give buyers a good understanding of the actual condition of the book. But we also ask the seller to put in their own condition, so an overall condition and if there's any writing. If you try and submit without filling out all the information, you'll see the appropriate error messages. You can toggle the local pickup switch on and off to hide or show the shipping price, for instance, if you don't want to ship. And you'll enter in your location, which uses a custom-built Google Places autocomplete picker. You can also clear the form as well if you wanted to start over. Once you've successfully listed your book, you can see the book has now been added to your profile page under your for sale section. So now, let's say you want to find a book for your upcoming classes. You can easily filter and sort through listings. So you can sort by price and distance, and you can filter out by local pickup only and within a certain radius. So you can see the options there. You can search with those options. It'll filter out any book listings that don't meet those requirements. And you can type to dynamically sort those even more. So we also have barcode searching. So what that is let's say you're in a bookstore and you found the book for your next class, but the bookstore wants $80, $90, some ridiculously high price to buy it new. If you take that book and you scan its barcode, you'll see if there are any books on Alexandria for sale from other students. So let's take a look at the book details here. Obviously, this will be everything that you saw entered in by the seller. So you can tap the images to take them full screen to see all the details of the book in case someone says it's in great condition, but yet their picture shows that it's pretty ripped up. You can click the drop down there and you'll see the description of the book and everything from the Google Books API. Also, if you tap on the location for that book, you'll be taken to Apple Maps where you can get directions directly from your current location. You can tap on the user's username to be taken to their profile screen where you can see their books for sale and their sold books. And you can also flag that user for any inappropriate content. You can also flag an individual listing for inappropriate content as well. So now let's say you found a book and it's one of 5, right? So there's 5 books, one's overpriced, one's kind of in the middle, and one's cheap. So if you want to save that book for later, in the same way you would watch an item on eBay, you'll favorite that item. So you'll tap the heart icon in the top right corner, and that will add it to your favorites list. It will also denote that it's your favorited item in the search results. So on the search results, you'll see the heart icon as well. And then when you go to your profile page, it'll be under your favorites list. If you want to unfavorite it, you'll just tap the icon again, and it'll instantly remove it from your favorites. So here we are at purchasing. You found the book, you want to buy it. That is super easy with Alexandria. You'll use either Android Pay or Apple Pay, depending on your platform. If you are on iOS, you'll have Apple Pay. So you'll just simply tap the buy button, scan your fingerprint, and you've successfully bought that book, assuming your credit card went through. So now the seller of that book will instantly get a notification saying that their book has been sold. What's more is that the buyer and the seller will both get emails. So the seller will get an email saying their book has been sold, and the buyer will get an email confirming their purchase. Now, no marketplace application will be complete without editing and deleting, obviously. So editing is a very simple task. You'll just tap the icon in the navigation controller there, and you can change any fields you want. If you try and exit, it'll ask you to confirm if you want to exit because you might have unsaved changes. And once you save your edited listing, it'll be updated instantly. Now, if you want to delete a book, that is also very simple. You'll just go into your listing, tap the trash icon, confirm that you want to delete it because it cannot be undone, and it'll be deleted instantly. Last but not least, we have the profile screen. So this would be the My Profile screen for the user. You have 2 outer sections here, a buying and a selling section. So for the buying section, it's going to be your favorites or your purchased. For the selling section, it's going to be your for sale and your sold. So your active listings and then the listings that are no longer active. If you want to edit your profile, you'll simply tap the cog icon in the top right corner, and you can change your username, profile image, and you can also sign out as well to be taken back to the splash screen. So I mentioned earlier that Alexandria is cross-platform. So we have a quick Android walkthrough. I'm not going to bore you with all the details because it is pretty much the same as on iOS. One big thing for being cross-platform here is that I wanted to make sure for iOS we follow the human interface guidelines and for Android the material guidelines. But at the same time, keeping the user interface intuitive and easy to use. You can pick it up on one platform, put it down, pick it up on another platform, and everything is relatively the same. So you can see the create book listing here. You'll notice that the actual interface is almost completely identical. Sure, you have your Android-esque design elements such as the material buttons and whatnot, but the actual layout and the information entered is exactly the same on both devices. So once you create your book listing, it will be added to the database, of course. You have your profile screen here as well. Similar to iOS, you have your buying and your selling sections, which have your for sale and sold, and your favorites and your purchased. So now that you've seen the application in its current state, I don't want to call it final because an application is always evolving. I'm going to talk about the past 2 months and the challenges and the triumphs that I had during those 2 months. So for me, one of the big challenges was managing the data. So if you saw on the profile page, there's essentially 4 data sets, but that's managed by an outer segmented control and an inner segmented control. So if you're on the buying section, you have to have your for sale and your sold. And if you're on the, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. If you're on your selling section, you have your for sale and your sold. If you're on your buying, you have your favorites and your purchased. So swapping out that data set correctly and getting it to be fluid and seamless and not have any stale data was pretty much a challenge. I probably redesigned that page on the back end a good 3 or 4 times. As far as other challenges go, after a long day of programming one Sunday, it was 9:50, and I wanted to run and grab a pizza before my local pizza place closed at 10 o'clock. I grabbed the pizza, put it in my trunk, closed the trunk, and sure enough, my keys were in the trunk with the pizza. So I had successfully locked myself out of my car. That's what happens when you program straight for pretty much 18 hours. Thankfully, I had just purchased a car from my friend, and he had an extra key. He had just got back from France and was driving back up to Orlando, so I grabbed the key from him the next day, and then I ate chunk pizza that day for breakfast. So as far as triumphs go, the application itself, I love seeing it evolve over time. So you start with an idea, and you take that idea through the process, and you constantly iterate on it, and you iterate on it. I think this green color for the application probably changed 15 times over 2 months. And some would argue that it could still be changed, right? So nothing's ever finished, and it's always evolving. As far as future plans go for the application, a couple notable features that I would like to implement down the line include full in-app messaging, a better, more advanced feedback and flagging system, as well as book renting. So not just selling and buying, but also a renting aspect. So thank you, everyone, for your time. There we go. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoy my application. And now we have Josh coming back out.
Hey. Thank you. Keith, you can hold on to that, and then I'll ask you to have a seat in the far seat over there, and then I'm going to invite our previous presenters out here. We're going to do something that we do, questions and answers, because I'm sure some of you guys have some of those things. So please welcome back Scott and Matt. Clap. Yes. I feel like a member of Congress. I got to ask people to clap. Anyhow. So we're going to go into our question and answer session. I'm sure you guys have some questions and answers. Well, you don't have the answers. They have the answers. But I'm sure you guys have some questions for our panelists here. So show of hands, like we have that. We also have online. If you want to ask questions online, not you guys, you're here. You ask questions here. The online people will ask questions online. So they'll be coming in. So who wants to go first? I know we have questions. Somebody? Okay. Wait, right here. Do we have a runner? We do have a runner. Okay.
I'm going to start out with an easy one for Luca, just because everyone might not understand the name. I understand it, and I think it's perfect. Why did you choose Alexandria as the name for your application?
I'm glad you brought that up because that is actually something that I wanted to touch upon but forgot. It is not named after the town in The Walking Dead. I want to get that straight. It is also not named after Alexandria, Virginia. It's named after the Great Library of Alexandria from the ancient Greek times. So that's where the name came from. I know, not all of you kind of pick up on that reference, but yeah.
No, it's good. In The Walking Dead, libraries are important.
That is true. So yeah, what was that? So we can just say it's after The Walking Dead. That's okay. I'm a big Walking Dead fan.
These people are afraid of spoilers, like I'm going to tell them Jon Snow died or something. I don't know. Oh, wait, did I say that? It didn't really happen. All right, question. What kind of questions do we have? We have students. Anybody? I'll ask a question, and I'm going to just pass the mic to you. So, since this is kind of, we don't always have a current student that's kind of still in the process along with final project students, and you're kind of going through this for the first time. Looking ahead at kind of the level you're expecting to get granted through the web program, I think how do you feel about how far you've come in the last 10 months, and then what do you see happening in the next 10 months, having been through this process now and seeing kind of what some of these other projects are?
That's a great question. I am confident, though, actually, and looking forward to the next 9 months that are ahead of me. I've been really happy and just super excited with the faculty and fellow students that I've been able to work side by side with, and who have also helped me out along the way tons of times when doing these projects. I am an independent learner. I like to get tasked with something, go home and figure out, and come back and kind of just blow everyone's minds the next day. That's just kind of how I work. But the reason I'm here at Full Sail is because a lot of times outside, before I got here, I would be hitting walls and I wouldn't know what the next step was. I wouldn't know the process. I wouldn't know the terminology. I wouldn't know what I was looking for. So for being here at Full Sail and already getting the experience that I've had so far and looking down the road, I definitely am stoked to kind of see what's going to come next, and definitely planning on some big projects coming here soon. They'll be maybe showcasing sometime in the future. So.
And then over there, so tomorrow, you guys get to walk across stage, and it's been 20 months of us just beating the hell out of you guys. So looking back at those 20 months, how are you guys reflecting on the process now? How do you feel about where you are, and kind of what you've gone through? Looking, if we go back to the simple, the term there, and kind of, I think it's funny sometimes. I'll give us some background. So we have some earlier programming classes in the degree, and these classes are often just, you just went through them, right? Like SDI and people get there and they're like, ah, for 4 weeks, and then another 4 weeks for the second class, and then at month 10 they're presenting that stuff, and then at month 20 they're presenting this stuff. So looking back, kind of in that reflection, how do you guys feel? Where are you guys at?
Well, I mean, it's certainly a process getting here, right? I mean, no one comes here and instantly knows everything. So it's you got to constantly learn and adapt to the changing scenario. What's more is that with Full Sail is your class schedules always change. So our first month of final project, we had class from 7 to 1 a.m. And then the month after, I had a schedule from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., I believe, every day of the week except for Saturday and Sunday. So you got to constantly adapt, and you want to have that drive to better yourself, and sometimes you have to go outside of, and really source information on your own, right? So you have to learn how to learn, basically.
Scott?
And following up on that, like he said, learn how to learn. It is a advanced program. Like, we're here and make applications in 6 fully functioning applications, really in our project classes in 4 weeks, and first week's paperwork. So in 3 weeks, we make a fully functioning application. So you have to learn how to learn and teach yourself like he said, the terminology, and learning all that stuff early on. Like he's saying, that now that I'm in final project, I graduate tomorrow, I'm confident going out into the programming world and knowing terminology and knowing about backends and database and server side and all of that. And when I was there, I'm like, I'm never gonna get through this. This is a nightmare. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm never gonna make it. But once you learn how to learn, that's it. You can get through this program and definitely succeed.
All right, since you have the mic, you're the victim. In SDI, you remember SDI?
Yeah.
That's the first question. Okay.
Dan. I had Dan.
Yeah, Dan. Hi, Dan.
There he is. Yeah. Hi, Dan.
Uh,
OctaKitty.
let's
Learn how
say
to get up.
you remember. Let's say week any week, pick a week in that class. But you remember how long it took you to kind of get through one of those labs?
I don't know exact time, but the first lab took me forever.
Okay.
Second lab it got easier as it went, but the first 2 labs were a nightmare. Yeah.
So looking back now, it's good. It's good. We're getting there. Looking back now, how long do you think it would
Because
take?
I didn't know any programming when
Yeah.
I came here. At
Right.
all.
And I think that's important, right? That's where you had the mic. So how long do you think it would take you to do that lab now?
Like, I could do it real quick in front of everyone if you want.
This is not planned, by the way.
Hours.
I say this every month because I think sometimes people doubt it. This is not rehearsed. If it's not bad enough that you could figure that out on your own, like this is all just real. And I ask these questions because I think sometimes, we have some students in the room and we have some students that are watching, and some students will watch this on an archive or something like that. And some of them are still in that screaming and crying and SD phase right now. And this is the result, right? Like when you come out of it, you look backwards and you go, oh, right, that really wasn't that bad. I came from nowhere and now I'm here. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of my month is this showcase and showing off kind of where people end up. And you even see it here, right? 10 months later, what is the language that we teach you in the first 10 months is C#, and you didn't have any C# that you presented. You presented HTML and JavaScript. So you're learning, and this goes back to what we're talking about, fundamentals and application into other technologies, right? So you learn fundamentals and you grow. So I'll ask you that question. How do you feel with, coming through the C# classes and everything like that, and then getting to where you are now with HTML and JavaScript? Do you feel that, I hope you answer this the way I want you to, do you feel that those classes applied and helped get you to a functional HTML project in a browser?
So for being honest, no, I think the earlier C# classes, being where I'm at right now and looking back and kind of looking back at what I learned from those, I definitely see a really good tie-in. I do know that I talk to people about, why aren't we, if I'm in web, why am I not learning JavaScript in the beginning? But I do see where learning C# fundamentally helps out in the long term, as it is, in my opinion, I really like it as an introductory language. It really helps to understand OOP objects, principles, and to really get understanding objects and data types. So I would personally say that the C# classes early on did help strengthen me for the projects that I had ahead. Especially when doing this in JavaScript, I saw a lot of tie-ins, and I think it also helps to broaden our spectrum and be able to say, oh, this is like this in C#. Oh, this is this and that, because no one's going to be stuck to one language. As developers, we have to be fluent and we have to be able to adapt to situations. So to be able to start on C#, convert it to JavaScript, and who knows, maybe PHP, I don't know if that's coming up next. I'm still new here. But when that comes, I look forward to that challenge when that happens. So
That was a good answer. I was really sweating it for a second there. All right, question. We have questions from online, so pass it over to Michelle.
All right, we have a question for Scott. Someone wanted to know if you would plan on making your app available for the widespread public, or if it would be solely for your family that you had designed it for.
Good question. I didn't actually talk about it, but white labeling my application, because of using a company code, I can white label this for any, with minor UI changes and adding a preference screen. They can replace the Dogwalker logo, as you guys saw in the beginning and through the registration and stuff. I can have an upload image there, and then it can be white labeled for any application. And the future plans for it are to actually finish development in Android with it, and deploy on both platforms with the UI changes, so that I can market this application as fully white labeled. It's not, the original idea was just for dog walkers and my family, but as development progressed and as I got through this relation with Firebase and everything I went through in this last 6 weeks, now I realize, and with the help of my instructor as well, Jen, helped out with the white labeling idea. I'm only a few steps away from that. So yes, it will go into deployment, and it will be white labeled for not just dog walking, but many other services as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, then the next question we have is for Luca. If the user doesn't have Apple Pay, they just wanted to confirm that there would be other options to purchase the books.
Yeah, certainly. That's one that I get a lot is, what if I don't want to use Apple Pay? That's something we went over in the project class as well. For the showcase, I wanted to show off that, yeah, we have Apple Pay. That's a native integration and something really big to have. So in the future, it is 100% going to support any paying option, virtual payment option, of course. And, I mean, they even had local pickup, but yes, it will support others.
Great, thank you. And then our last question was for Matt. You mentioned that you were warned against using League of Legends specifically for the API, and they were just curious what you learned working with that process that was so difficult with the API language.
What I learned. What didn't I learn? I guess going through that process, from what I learned with that, is really, I think the major important thing, which carries on into other aspects as I go forward, develop other things, is understanding and seeing what data is important to the user. Because a lot of times I'll go to a site or an application and there's just information all over the place. It looks nice, but there's just information all over the place. But I think the key and something that this really taught me was, what does the user want to see? You know, what information is relevant to them? And then to be able to showcase that and present that while having access to the other data in an accessible area. So I would say, at least for this project, that was one of the big things, is just understanding data. Although maybe the app didn't present it as, the project didn't present it as well as I would hope to, just through research and thinking ahead and looking back at the project. Definitely understanding the data, understanding the user, what's important to the user, and how do we get that information to them in the most accessible and visible way. So,
We have a question over here on this side. That's quite a run. Wow.
All right, hi, hello. This question's for Luca. I think that Alexandria is a really incredible program, and I really wish that existed when I was in college. I think that's going to be pretty revolutionary, and I wanted to know, have you anticipated at all, like, any of the negative feedback that you're going to get from, like, the textbook industry, because they're not going to like that, and I know that there's, like, legal issues with reselling books, and, you know, they have all these things, like, where they have these special codes you have to enter to access, like, the math problems on the website. Like, are you thinking into the future about how you're going to get around a lot of that stuff?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, as much as negative feedback is bad, I mean, I welcome that, because negative feedback from them means that I'm doing a good job and the app is reaching people. So as far as the whole code situation goes, it's in the back of my mind. It's not something that I've immediately found a solution for yet. It needs to be worked on and kind of grow in the process, but it is certainly in the back of my mind.
When you were first coming up with the project, though, you know, we had talked a little bit about like inventory and dealing with some of the challenges, and I think this also ties into some of your payment structures, right? The way that your app works from user to user, it's not actually going through you. So a lot of kind of the actual, your app is more or less a facilitator, right? So it's right of first sale for most of your customers, and that part of it then would probably be between the two people, not necessarily you, right?
Right. It's the same scenario as a Craigslist, right? I mean, people put stuff for sale on there, whether it's copyrighted or not. They don't take responsibility for that because they're simply delivering the platform for the users to post those things for sale. So with the Apple Pay, I never actually touch the payments. So the process for marketing and how it's going to be promoted is it's going to be in-app purchases to list your book. So you didn't see that in the marketing video. I didn't touch upon that too much because that's more for the business side. But instead of taking a percentage, which like I mentioned is a big downer for a lot of the current applications, it's going to be in-app purchases to list your book. So like 99 cents to list for 1 month, and then you're done. You don't have to pay a percentage. It's over. So we get our cut up front. It's not necessarily a cut because you're just making a one-time payment. So we get that up front. We don't touch the user's money. It goes straight from the person that bought the book to the person selling the book.
Yep, and right next door.
Hi, this is a question about the dog walking app, which I love as a pet owner. So my question would be, as a pet owner, is there or will there be a way to find a dog walker within like a network? So if I don't know somebody who has the dog walking app, will I be able to go in and search by like where I live and see profiles, or how would I find somebody to walk my dog if I didn't know somebody with the app?
It's a good question. Because there is my competitors out there. There are three major. It's I think Rover and Wag is another one where it's like an Uber for dog walkers. So you search for a dog walker and they come to your home. The whole thing about that is you're letting some random person that has a PDF file of their background check stating that they're a dog walker into your home. So this is more personalized for someone that already has a dog walking business and having their clients add to it. I am going to look into trying to add that maybe as a feature, depending upon how it goes with white labeling it. But for now, it'll be mostly for businesses that are already established with clients until I see, because my research went into, I have a better opportunity to make money with this application doing it the way I did, opposed to doing it and going against those three competitors, where I have two competitors in the field where I'm at with this application.
With your current application, though, your company code, in theory, any sort of, if I had a company, though, I could take and create a flyer or any one of number of ways, a website, a Facebook post, whatever, and I could provide my code, and then she could register.
Then you could, right, yes. Their company is, say, if it was for Orlando, I have a friend locally that walks dogs. If she had her flyer up, it would just have a QR code, or like he said, download their application with their code, and you would be linked with my application through them. So yes, you would kind of need to know a company or get connected with a company the way it is right now, but maybe that is a good thing to look into, is searching for people to look for it. So I appreciate that. That's something to look into for the future.
Good question. We have other questions in the audience. It's a quiet crowd. It's a big crowd. Quiet. All right, Dan, there you go. Got a couple. Got it right here. Do we have a mic? No, you're loud. Well, it's for the streamers. I'm sure we can hear you in here, Dan.
This question is for Luca. Are you concerned about digital textbooks now? Because it's kind of going more towards that route.
Yeah, Full Sail doesn't even use real textbooks, so how would I even come up with that application?
Whoa. We use real textbooks, sir.
Well, not in a real, you can hold it kind of way.
They're not
right?
physical,
They're
sure.
not physical. They are real. Let me go back. They are real textbooks. They're real. It's the same thing you would get printed. It's just online. So yeah, where it's going is that colleges are pretty slow to, except for Full Sail. Colleges are kind of slow in phasing these things out. So I think for the foreseeable future, it's still going to be a growing problem. But I appreciate your thought on that.
Good question there. Yeah, over here. This guy must burn so many calories. Not that he needs it. Look at you. Yeah.
Hello. I guess piggybacking on a couple of the comments I know was kind of brought up a little bit in what you just mentioned about the digital textbooks. I guess this kind of for the two of you, so with the apps, regarding kind of legal ramifications, and you were talking about separating yourself, about that you're not touching the payment. But like the thing is, like with the dog walker, like have you thought about like legal issues there regarding the fact of, like, let's say, I've indicated that I've walked your dog, but what if I really haven't walked your dog? I've just basically identified saying that I walked your dog, but meanwhile I was walking other dogs and not yours. Or like with the application, yes, you're taking pictures of the book. What if I get the book, but it's clearly not, like, I don't believe the pictures because what I get doesn't match. So as far as like legal ramifications regarding all of those kind of, is that a thought of yours before you actually get them to be download and accessible?
In my case, yes, I've thought through for the dog walking part. I do want to add in where when you check in, how you saw where you check in for the walk, it will start And with Google Places API, I think it is, I can route where the person actually walks. And so when they check out, the user, the client would then, pet owner would then get a note as well as a picture image of where they walk the dog around the block for however many minutes. Just with the computer issues I had and code signing error issues with Apple, I wasn't able to get in, push notifications, and finish up the finaling touches to get that in there. But yes, for legal terms, that they checked in, they actually walked the dog. It shows the route, so that eliminates that. And then for legal thing where the dog walker going into your home and stuff, that is on the dog walking company. It doesn't involve me at all. I just, like Lucas said, I supply the service platform for them to use. It's on the dog walker company to then have insurance for their business.
So they may have to like actually take a picture of the dog to make, because obviously they're checking in and saying they walked that route, but did the dog actually walk that route? They could have checked in outside your house and then walked
Well,
out.
the app does that now too. It does support taking a picture and sending it to the owner while you're in the middle of the walk.
So in the case of my application and ebook photos, that's why one of the features I mentioned in the future was a more in-depth feedback and reporting system. In addition to that is, one thing I've seen with my competitors is that they offer an insurance option. So let's say you paid $5 insurance when you were buying a book, you would pay the insurance to me. And that insurance would insure you that if this book is not what you thought it was, you could get a refund. Not only would you get a refund, we could find the book for you, the book that you actually wanted to buy, and supply that to you.
That's good. We have any other questions? How's online still good, Michelle, over there? Good? Okay. I think we're good. All right. Well, with that, I would like to thank everybody for coming out today. I'd like to give one more round of applause for our presenters today, if we could. Personally, I'd like to congratulate you two. I will see you walking across stage tomorrow, and I look forward to working you over the next year. Thank you for joining us, everybody that's joining us here, and those of us online. We'll see you next time.